Hi everyone, this is Danish Zaidi. So today we will be talking about the copywriting. I do have my friend, the childhood friend Shahzad Khan, who is my friend and confidant. He has been working in the industry for a while now. So we'll be getting to know about his journey and how he's helping Pakistanis achieving their dream. So Shahzad, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Danish, for having me. Or it's an absolute pleasure. If I look back at our history, or we've been together for a long time, और वहाँ से यहाँ तक का जो हमारा सफर है, it's been great. Or I'm glad that you're doing this great thing. You're sharing the knowledge with people. Or kudos to you.
Thank you, man. Absolutely. So I think let's dive right in. I think maybe we can start with the challenges that you faced. I think initially, I know that you were a graduate from UET Lahore, and how was the journey? How you got into copywriting? I think people would like to know. So I think we can start from there.
Okay, so I started copywriting full-time back in 2017. So I graduated UET in 2015. I was a rather average student with a 2.94 GPA. And everyone told me that I'll never get a job and I'll never be, able to be a good engineer or some sort of. This is something I could relate to because deep down I knew I might not be the best engineer out there. So what happened was that when I graduated, I was offered this job in a local university in Multan. And it was a good job, a typical lab engineer job, and you would go and you'd be free by 3 p.m. and everything would be all rainbows and butterflies. But what happened was I got this severe pressure from my peers and from my family to quit that job and pursue something out in the field. Some go to a power plant or maybe leave the country for higher education or something. So at that time, I was offered this job in Lahore. They paid me about 10,000 rupees a month, and I took the bait because field job is better than education job. This was the norm back then. So I went to Lahore, spent about 6 months doing that job, and that is when I realized that I'm not made for this. I'm not made for living off at far off plants and being cut off from the society and the civilization. And you know what plant life is like for most engineers. क्या वहाँ पे होते हो, there is no one to talk to, the same colleagues you meet in the day. You have to spend the same time with those same people.
Sure thing.
So there's a lot of mundanity to everything. So, and on top of that, I realized that if I keep doing this job, I'll never be able to fulfill my dreams of being free, being able to travel, being able to afford whatever I want to buy, or that is when I decided to quit. So I left that job, and I wanted to pursue CSS at that time as well.
Yeah.
So I quit my job. I had to plan what I'll do. Maybe I wanted to try CSS. So when I started, reading for CSS and essays and everything, how complicated it is. And that is when I realized that since I don't have a source of income and I'm 25 now, and my family is dependent on me, and they raised me to be a good guy, a good engineer, and they invested a lot of time, money, and effort in me. And here I am, I have no money, I'm not supporting them. So that is when I decided on CSS ke saath hi, I'll start writing online, because I had this brief stint with writing back in 2014 as well, online through Odesk. I earned $4 in 2 months back then. So I kind of revived my accounts on Upwork. I created an account on Fiverr, and I started looking for jobs online and started preparing for CSS at the same time. और फिर क्या हुआ कि CSS side पे रह गया, और all I did was writing. I started getting clients, started getting traction, or never looked back.
Sounds amazing. I think that's a fascinating journey in and of itself. And I know that I personally know your struggle. So I know that you started some kind of shop as well. From the food standpoint, it was a kind of an eatery before that. So I think a lot of germs from that standpoint were already there. I think we talked about a lot about, for example, the things that we need to start, the financial freedoms. So only one of us could get that far. So kudos to you. I think a lot of people would love to see your journey and would like to learn from it. So I think, just for the normal audience, people in Pakistan doesn't know about copywriting a bit. So I think if you can talk about what's the role of a copywriter, and people generally confuse that with the writing. So if we are just talking about the copywriting, is it basically the marketing aspect, or it's basically extrapolation of marketing, what it entails basically, and how you can basically have the key skills or the qualities in order to become a copywriter? I think those would be good questions to ask.
So copywriting is sort of a niche within marketing industry. So marketing is a spectrum, and copywriting is a part of that, and it is about writing to drive action. We get salesmen who will call you to close something, close a deal. Then you get salesmen in the retail sector. So those are the salesmen who are present physically. If you have to convince someone and if you have to drive action online or through anything written through newspapers or everything that is in the written medium, then you onboard copywriters. Our goal is to write to drive action or sales. So we do it online mostly since things have transformed and most of the people are now marketing through the online mediums. So हमारा काम क्या होता है कि हम we step in, we write to drive action. और इसमें action क्या है? Action could be anything. Action could be to get them to click a link. Action could be to get them to purchase a product. Action could be to get their email in exchange of offering something valuable. So this is something a copywriter writes. Or if I give examples of the types of things we write, it is usually Facebook ads, the scripts of those ads, the sales call scripts are also usually written by copywriters. YouTube scripts are written by copywriters. Emails you get in your inbox. You probably might be flooded with emails in your inbox. I have about 40,100 emails. So those emails are written by copywriters, and anything you see that is using words to drive action out of people online, that is copywriting.
Sounds amazing. And I think in copywriting, do you think the quantity is important? I think people confuse that with the extensive writing. So from that standpoint, I think it's more about the quality when we are trying to trigger an action from the user.
So it is about, so what happens is there is this field called content writing. Then there is this field called copywriting. What content does is it informs. And that is the reason why it is usually long form. You'll read articles and blogs that are 2,000, 5,000 words long. Whereas copywriting can be extensive, but a very few types of copywriting are extensive. For instance, I am a direct response copywriter. Our goal is to elicit a direct response from you right now, not tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow, but right now. So that is why we usually write long form copy. We write long, for instance, if I'm supposed to write an ad, if I write an ad for a client, my ad would be about 200 words long. Whereas if another type of copywriter writes an ad, they might write one for 100 words long. So you might have noticed that some ads are very short, while some are very extensive. So it boils down to the type of the copywriter you hired and the extent of information, awareness, and the amount of effort you have to put into the ad in order to get a click or get a action from your audience. So ये इस तरह से depend करता है. I usually prefer long form copy because I feel that we get to add a lot of elements, we get to convince you better, and we get to make sure that action is driven right away. So that is why we tend to write, especially direct response copywriters like me, tend to write another long form copy.
And I think that also depends upon how complex the product is. For example, so if we are basically writing a product copy, in that case, obviously, if we are getting a chance to explain about that particular product, I think we should be able to sell it more. So I think it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. I'll give you an example from the product pages you mentioned. So there is this client of mine, and I wrote two types of pages for them. One page was for the product. One page was about 750 words long, and the other page was about 300 words long. The 750 word long is converting better. It is their control now, and they are driving all their traffic to that page. The smaller page, it helped us, helped us scale, helped us, it gave us a boost. And as soon as we started bringing in more people, more unaware people to our pages, so we expanded on that. We added more information, more things that will benefit people and help them make a decision or an action. So that is all.
Makes absolute sense, and I think that's also a fascinating example that you basically try to get a hook from the marketing standpoint and then explain the entirety of the thing. So I think that's a brilliant approach in and of itself. So, just talking about the creative process, what's your creative process looks like? For example, if you get a new project, what are the structural moorings or what are the things that you look for in order to segment it down to a smaller size?
Okay, so my take on this is rather controversial, maybe, I don't know. So what happens is I don't believe in, I'm absorbing all the creativity and it'll take me 2 weeks to get in the zone of being a writer and then I'll write. I've never been like that. So what I do is I get a project, I ask my client questions about it. I have this 15-question long questionnaire. So I share it with my client, I get the answers from them, and I dive right into the research process. That is the first process. of me writing something for a client. So in that process, I have a set of questions that I personally find answers to in order to understand the audience better. Like what are their hopes and dreams, and what are their pain points, and what are their aspirations, and what kind of audience is that, and where do they buy from, for instance, and the competitive everything. So once I've compiled the research, what I do is, in the next step, I create an outline of the copy that I'm writing. For instance, if I'm writing a Facebook ad, I'll sit down not more than 5 to 10 minutes, and I'll think of the overall audience. Since I've already looked at the competition, I've looked at the customer, I know what makes them tick and buy now, since because I've performed my research. So what I'll do in the second step is I'll create an outline of that. So I'll say I'll first gain their attention in the first line, or maybe I qualify them in the first line. So I only get people who are my ideal audience to read. Other people who are not my audience, they'll leave the ad right away. So I'll create this outline. Then I'll use my research and use that outline to create copy. I'll just type, because writing is the final component of copywriting. Before that, we must understand frameworks, we must understand the audience, we must understand the levels, we must understand the hopes, dreams, pains. Once you know that, then you can write. Even ChatGPT can write it for you.
I absolutely agree. And I think that's basically it's true for any kind of creative process. I think sharpening the X and just spending the last bit on writing, I think that makes absolute sense. So I think thank you for that. I think the next piece I do have in mind is basically from the challenges or the example of any kind of challenge that you have seen. I know that you have entirety of experience. So there are a couple of areas where we see it's basically a complex project, and we haven't done some kind of a project before. So have you come across any kind of project or a tougher client that you weren't able to manage? And what's the advice that you would like to give to the people?
So the toughest client I wasn't able to manage was myself. Because I've written for I've worked on more than 33 or 3,500 projects by now.
Sure.
And once you have this amount of experience of writing, there is no niche probably I haven't written for, other than the adult niches. I've written for almost every niche. And once you have that kind of experience going on for you, you get to develop processes, you get to develop systems that you're able to crack the toughest of the nuts out there. But when I had to write copy for myself, for my own brand, that was a huge challenge for me, because I didn't know how the markets will respond, because advanced level copywriting has never been done for a Pakistani audience ever in the history of our country. Never.
So the empirical evidence isn't there.
Yeah, there was this uncertainty, there was this unsurety what will happen, how the audience respond to that. I remember I first handed out this project to an agency because I had a lot of things to deal with already. So I handed out to them, and the ads and everything they created for me, it ended up backfiring so bad that instead of people reaching out to me and asking me for the trainings or the things that the offer that I was making, they thought I was posting a job or something, and they were reaching out for jobs.
Okay.
Now imagine running ads and people thinking it is a job offer, and my inboxes are flooded, and every campaigns flopped very bad. This is the first time I'm sharing this online, so it completely flopped, and I had this fear what will happen. I shelved all the products, I shelved everything, and I waited for 8 months. I gathered energy, I gathered the courage to start writing for myself, and then I was able to write solid landing pages for my brand. I even had my coaches help me on that as well. So I have these coaches, and whenever I'm unsure of it, or they help me on my journey, they help me critique the copy that I'm writing for myself and for my clients. So I reached out to them. I had some of the best copywriters in the whole planet of us, proofread them, look at the copy, give me suggestions, help me perfect the angles. And once we were able to finally do that, we launched the campaigns, and they've been a success. You might have also seen my ad as well on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. So was it a positioning problem, or was it, you're talking about the angles? So I think, people would like to know what are the angles. And in the copy itself, since you were getting the jobs, was it a positioning problem? Brand couldn't understand what you're offering? Or,
So they understood what I was offering. The agency I had, they knew what I was offering. But they weren't able to relay it to the audience to the people in a 1-minute short ad. So this is the beauty of copywriting, that you must know the different angles. So you see, there is this, this is your customer's current position. They want to go here. Now they can travel to this place using any vehicle they want. And I have to convince them that my vehicle is the best vehicle to take you to this place. And in order and to do that in a short 1-minute video, that takes a lot of doing, and that takes a lot of knowing about copywriting and knowing what you are. So angles, mechanisms, hooks that will make sure that the audience sticks to the end of the video. In fact, this is another thing I'm sharing with you. My Facebook ad, one of my YouTube ads, sorry, it has a 75% watch rate.
Oh, okay. That's amazing.
Yeah. So if someone is, so there is a 70% chance if you start watching my ad, if you come across it, you'll watch it, to the full length. You won't even click on the skip button. So this is the power of copywriting. Once you know what you're doing, you get to, truly create something that has a lot of impact.
Absolutely amazing. I think that's a fascinating thing to share. So I think in the digital age, we are seeing a lot of AI and ChatGPT. So from that standpoint, I think people have the challenges, and people are saying that the copywriting would be subsided as an industry. I know that you're talking about about the creative process. I think it's in line in terms of the question. So what do you think about the AI and how it will impact the copywriting industry?
So what happens is AI is again a tool to be used to write something. So as we talked about the process, writing is the 25% of the game. Other than writing, there is research, mechanisms, hooks, angles, psychology, awareness levels, a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So that is 75% of the work. If someone says that this 25% thing will replace the entire 75, I'm afraid that is never going to happen. Yes, AI tools will evolve. They'll get better with time, but AI tools are made for copywriters, essentially. Having ChatGPT by my side is like having a junior copywriter, someone I can train, someone I can give information to, someone I can use to help me with that 20% of the part. And once it has created something, I have to make sure the angles are right. I have to make sure the hooks are on point. I have to make sure I've considered the awareness level of the audience. I know I need to make sure that we have relayed the benefits and the offer to the audience correctly. So there are a lot of moving components. AI is good. AI is helpful. It is for copywriters, because what happens is, for example, if there is a business owner who thinks, oh, I don't need copywriters anymore, I can write myself using ChatGPT. So they'll go to ChatGPT, they'll type
a prompt,
10-word prompt, and they'll think, wow, what an ad, and they'll use that ad and they'll run ads on it, drive traffic, and it will flop every single day.
Yeah, I think the originality of the content is not there, and I think the research is also.
There is no framework in there. There is no mechanism. It might work in unaware audiences or audiences that are not, evolved to the online marketing. But if you do that to an American audience, they'll rip you to pieces. So many pieces, you'll never be able to put them together. So if the same client reaches out to me and they say, bro, you're a copywriter, use ChatGPT to write copy for me. The copy that I write for him and the copy that I generate through ChatGPT, through the prompts that I've written, it will be way more impactful, it will be different, it will be powerful. And then I'll, make some changes to it and make sure it fits. Then I'll share it to my client, and then my client will run ads, and now he'll see the impact. So if you don't know the basics of persuasion, psychology, ChatGPT is of no use to you.
Makes absolute sense. And I think human psychology is a complex bit. People say that it's a subjective opinion. So in that case, there could be angles, there could be lenses that we need to see. So I think for the augmentation of the copywriter experience, I think it would be helpful, like you're saying, and it can be used for the individual bits, for example, the researching or writing and fine tuning the the draft copy maybe. But I think the actual experience will remain there because it entails empathy. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So in terms of if we are talking about the copywriting techniques or the principles, do you think that we can potentially share any kind of techniques that you're aware of and a fan of in that sense that you would like to recommend to the people?
So a copywriting technique,
or maybe personalities that you follow.
I'm a fan of Chris Haddad's. So Chris Haddad is, he has more than $1 billion in sales for the copy that he's written. He thrives on story-driven copy. Then I follow Stephen Georgia as well. Stephen is a great guy, a great mentor. He has, had a lot of impact on my career. And when I look for things that are, in a bigger spectrum, a step above a copywriter, I look at Frank Khan and Jay Abraham. these people have turned themselves into marketers, started as copywriters. If I'm right, Frank Khan worked for Tony Robbins. So
Awesome.
he helped Tony Robbins build what he has now through copy,
Awesome.
through marketing and everything. And Jay Abraham, obviously, he has more than $2.3 billion in sales through the marketing and copy he's written. So then there's that. I have a coach. I might not be able to name him, and he's helping me with diversifications and more things. So there is this guy called Ellen. Ellen is running a community called Nothing Hyderabad, and Ellen is changing the game, flipping it on its head. And I think Ellen is the future of marketing and future of the way things will be done in the future. That will be the process that Ellen is doing. So these are the guys that I follow right now. And Anik Singhal, he's also a great guy. I also follow other creators in other niches like Justin Welsh. Then we have Ali Abdal. I'm a huge fan. Alex Hormozy, obviously. People say I look like him, but maybe I don't. So the other day, the other day I was shooting videos, and I was wearing shorts, and I had a good button shirt, and I was wearing shorts. And my graphics guy, video guy, he told me that he wants me to, he wanted to take a shot of my legs as well to give it a Hormozy vibe. And I know, I'm not worth it.
I think that's the amazing bit about the digital nomad life. I think we should talk about the nomad life as well. Since in Pakistan, dollar is plummeting. You're seeing a lot of challenges from the economic standpoint, and people are finding it difficult to make ends meet. So from that standpoint, do you think there is potential for a Pakistani, since it's basically a population of 65% youth and without a lot of opportunities? So I know that you're mentoring people as well, sharing your knowledge, which is amazing trait in and of itself. So what do you see a potential future for the copywriting in Pakistan? And do you think that we can revive the economy from this gig itself?
So economy revival is a huge deal. We'll have to band together with other industries as well.
Yeah.
Amazon, SEO and everything. But what I've observed in the Pakistani spaces, Pakistan is still not, we haven't upped our game in marketing. Maybe Faisal Qureshi and those guys with the UPhone ads, they tried to do something, but I don't know why they didn't become the norm. So abhi Pakistan, there is a huge potential. Grassroots level, there are issues. Agencies have no idea, absolutely zero under idea of what copywriting is, of what proper marketing is, of how brands are built. That is the reason why you see every ad of every brand, and there is this actress and they are dancing. All they know is dances. There is entertainment value to ads, I agree. But look at what Faisal Qureshi tried to do with UPhone ads. Then
makes sense.
We get those ads still off and on television and everything. But marketing is way underrated right now in Pakistan, and there is huge scope, huge potential. That is why I've been shouting at the top of my lungs. Agencies, marketing companies, please hire good copywriters, those who know what they are doing, and please don't be cheap. Please pay them well, and they'll bring the results, and they'll bring your clients results. So this is what I have to say about it. So a lot of potential, and yeah. Yeah, you were saying.
So reason ये procrastination है सिर्फ या क्या मसला है? I was saying basically in Pakistan you said that they haven't evolved. Do you see any particular reason behind that? People are procrastinating, or what's the problem that you see?
So the problem that I've noticed is they don't. Can I use profanity?
Yeah. It's absolutely. This is an open medium.
They do not give a shit about their audience. They do not care about their customers. Like I've been duped by an agency. They didn't have any idea what they were doing, but they were like, "Oh, we'll do this for you. We'll do that for you. We'll, tear down walls for you." And they had absolutely zero idea of what they were doing. So what happens is, these big name companies, these big name giant companies like Unilever or Coke or etc., they'll hire agencies to do their bidding and do their marketing mostly. Now, a behemoth like Coke does not care if they're losing maybe 5 lakh rupees a month or 2 lakh rupees a month on a puny agency marketing. What the agency does in response is they'll create carousels. They'll post Qaid-e-Azam Day pictures, 14-day Happy Independence Day picture on Coke's page. Or I'm not against posting those things, but where is the marketing at, bro? If you're doing marketing right, post whatever you like. on recently there was this viral thread going on, and on Wendy's Facebook page, it is an American food chain, Wendy's. They were roasting people using their Facebook account. So if someone commented on their Wendy's official page, they would reply to them and roast the shit out of them. So this is marketing, unique, catchy, attention grabbing. And what are the
Attention grabbing.
They don't care. They just care for the retainer they charge, and that's about it. That's the reason why. And companies also have no idea. I was, in fact, interesting story. I was a huge company in Pakistan in the music space reached out to me about 2 months ago. And I was like, okay, I identified 5 problems in the marketing. I said, I'll do this. I'll guarantee that. I'll do this for you. This will be the result. I laid it all out for them. And what happened was, when it came to the quote, I quoted them, what I quote. It is a big number. And people in Pakistan usually cannot comprehend it. कि ये क्या मांग लिया, अपने भी मांग लिया क्या साथ. So this is what their reaction was. But they weren't, seeing the outcome. I was promising them 10x or 100x on, what I was demanding. So there is a lot of difference in education. People have no idea what good marketing can do for you. They have no idea of its potential. There is this local brand. They reached out to me, and they asked me to, manage their marketing and everything, and write the copy for them. And I told them, what is your current, ad spend? And they said something along the lines of 70,000 a month. I was like, bro, why are you spending 70,000? You could be spending 70,000 a day in your niche. Spend 70,000 a day and make about, it came out to be 80, it should have been 80 to 90 million. They should have been making 80 to 90 million in revenue monthly. But they were just not ponying up enough investment for that. So companies need to understand marketing ki zarurat. It is about money in, money out. They need to understand that, and they need to stop paying agencies who do not give a shit about their brand or their marketing. And they need to stop doing those neon dances. मैं कर लूँगा, मेरे साथ neon lights नहीं आएगा.
सही बात. Amazing insight. I think इसकी primary reason I think ये भी हो सकती है, since we only have the FMCG companies, or you can say the companies which already have some kind of a demand in the market. So they're basically just doing the khana puri. उन्हें पता है कि यार ये बिक तो जाएगा. तो मेरे ख्याल से ये भी एक lens है. I think in terms of the penetration, for example, if we are talking about the internet or the the data penetration, they already know that there are limitations and other things. So maybe that's the reason, or there is procrastination, like you said. People are unwilling to be creative in that particular space. So I think a lot to learn from people like you. So I think in terms of the as a copywriter, what are the typical latest trends that you would like to share with the people? So for example, if we talk about last 5 years, how this particular industry evolved over time, and what are you foreseeing for the future? And
so when I started out, I guess I've lost you. Can you hear me, bro? Hello.
So did I lose you, or can you hear me? Yeah, I think I can hear you now.
Okay. So you asked about how the industry has evolved over these 5 years. So what I've noticed is there are a lot of brands out there now. I see a lot of solopreneurs popping up everywhere. People who are solo, and they have built a good business, doing 7 figures, probably $1 million or $2 or $3 million a year, and they are hiring freelancers mostly. And this is something I've observed after COVID. Things completely changed. A lot of people are now in the education space as well, in the info marketing space. Also, there is this one thing that has remained the same, and that is pro info marketers. They are still the same. They'll still sell you anything they can get their hands on, and guys like Billie Jean, and there are some in Pakistan as well. So also I've noticed that funnels, a certain type of funnel, is also picking up a lot of traction. लेकिन मार्केट में every time everything is going on. और ChatGPT, since ChatGPT came in last year or maybe इस साल, I'm not sure कब exactly. So it also has had an impact. Businesses are trying to crack that in different ways, trying to use that for the marketing, for the channels, and for their communication. And most of them are now pivoting towards startups like that help with AI and everything. So this is something I've observed over these years. Funnels, more info products, and more solopreneurs.
Amazing. I think if people are getting into this particular field, I think it will have an impact, I think, on the economy as well, because obviously people are bringing in the remittances and the dollars into the market. So I think a lot of good news from that standpoint. Do you see any kind of tools that you follow? Just out of curiosity, for example, if we talk about a specific kind of a niche, do you recommend a specific tool for that, or just a generic tool for all kinds of niches?
So a tool in a way
for the bidding or finding the customers.
So for that I relied on Fiverr back in 2017 up until 2022, mid of 2022. I relied on Upwork for clients. Then I moved towards some referral-based clients, and now I work with very select few clients. They pay me good money, and I'm just working for them and focusing on the training side of things.
Sure thing. And do you also use LinkedIn? So you mentioned that you already have the clients, so you're just maintaining the portfolio. But people generally have a profile for the company on LinkedIn, and in that case, they're fishing for the clients on LinkedIn. So did you use that as a strategy?
Yeah, I did use LinkedIn for a while, but since I was occupied in a lot of things already, so I hired a team to take care of LinkedIn for me, but that didn't go well as well. So now I'm back at it again, and I am currently not, promoting my services there, but I am interacting with people from Pakistan and posting there regularly, which reminds me of the fact that I have to post after this session.
Sure thing. Yeah, I think absolutely personal brand and is super important. So I think it does make sense. And from the other question, since you alluded to it as well, regarding the tools that you follow for a specific niche for the researching. So do you recommend any kind of tools for the researching for a specific niche?
Mostly my research is manual. I tried comparing it with ChatGPT back 3 months ago, and the results there was a lot of difference in the results. So I still rely on manual research. I go to forums, I go to Reddit. Next thing I'm on TikTok. I'm reading comments on YouTube. I'm reading reviews on Amazon, Yelp, and everything. So that my research process is still manual, but I might start leveraging more of AI in the future.
Makes absolute sense. And I think just towards the end of it, do you I think people generally complain in the foreign. I've worked with the foreigners. You have also worked with the foreigners. So from the Pakistani standpoint, do you have any kind of advice from the professional development standpoint? Since people complained about the professionalism that we have, and in that case, a lot of complaints are there. People generally don't follow the promises, or they have bad ethics from the standpoint of delivering the quality and the content.
So what happened in Pakistan is I believe we are still we have a lot of ground to cover in terms of building ethics and in terms of building work ethic of some sorts. We are not focused on the long term. That is one of the reasons why we don't see things. We are unable to foresee things because our society has limited put a ceiling on our heads. That if someone is making, for instance, $16 million, and if you tell someone in Pakistan that a person is making $16 million, they'll probably start negating, then they'll turn lunatic, and then they'll probably pull their hair out because of disbelief. We need to let people know that these things are possible.
Yeah.
High income is possible, respect is possible, stability is possible, and all of these things can be achieved if you have a very good work ethic. If you are good, if you are honest with what you do, if you are good with your commitments. Once you do these things, the first three things are bound to happen. So if someone is listening and they are working towards self-development, my process has been to raise the bar for yourself. And you raise your bar when you step into a higher categories of your industry. For instance, when I was starting out, I was a nobody. Even if I effed up on a job, nobody cares. But now if I effed up on a job,
Yeah.
That brand will tell 50 other brands that Shahzad Khan has done us dirty or something. Since I've upped my game, I have to, it automatically makes me more responsible, more accountable, and it makes me want to do the best that I can do for the client. And this is something my coach told me. It was something related loosely. Okay,
Mhm.
I wrote an email for someone for $20,
Mhm.
and when I showed it to my coach told me that it was absolute garbage. That the thing that I was doing. And my reason was that I told my coach that guy only gave me $20. So why this is something I've written for them, so it shouldn't be my concern. The client didn't have budget. And my coach told me it is your fault that the client paid you $20. Even
Amazing, amazing perspective.
yeah, and if you have accepted those $20, now it is your responsibility to make sure that the work that you do is worth whatever.
Doing justice.
Yeah, if I'm worth 100, my work should show that. So you either get people like these beside you who are there to smack you on your head and tell you to do the right thing, or the second thing that you can do is up your game and
Mhm.
work ethic and everything, and it will follow. This is what I've been able to understand.
Makes absolute sense, and I think that's amazing advice. So people see it as a egg and chicken kind of an argument that we need to have the short term benefits in order to get to somewhere. But I think honesty is the best policy. In that case, obviously, you would be getting whether you're starting small, but you would eventually get big. And in that case, the responsibility would get higher, and you would need to have the justice to it. So I think makes a lot of sense. And in last piece, I would, since we are close to the time, and I know that you need to go somewhere else as well. You're a busy person. So I think for the Pakistani audience or elsewhere, since people would be watching this elsewhere as well, so how do they reach out to you? And I think you are running a community as well, the laptop living. So how do they reach out to you, and what's the typical procedure that they need to follow in order to enroll themselves? I think a lot of people were reaching out to me, have Shahzad on board since they know that we are friends. So just sharing that with the wider audience, I think they should be able to reach out to you directly.
So what they could do is they could either send me a message on LinkedIn,
Okay.
or they could just drop me a message on a Facebook profile, or maybe send me an email at shazad@thelaptopliving.com. Or yeah, that's about it. I'm very easy to approach to. I tend to bite at times if the questions are wrong. But
I think that that's
so you
that's
what happens is
justifiable.
I get about 50 messages a day.
Yeah.
I respond to those 50 messages. They lead to 50 conversations. The next day I get 50 more messages. I respond to them 50. So I have 100 conversations in 2 days. So this is something I've been juggling. And there was a time when I literally felt nauseatic when I opened my messenger. I had about this wall of messages. Let me show you my WhatsApp. You'll see how you'll say wow. I have about 288 archived messages on
Oh
my WhatsApp.
wow. Oh wow.
I don't know what happened. Someone leaked my number. I have no idea. You see, this is my WhatsApp archive. So what happens in Pakistan stays in Pakistan. People have most of the people absolutely have no regard to privacy or any of any sorts. But those who reach out to me via email or LinkedIn or my Facebook Messenger, I'm all ears. I'll help you. I'll guide you whatever your questions are. And some of the questions are easily answered online. I've already answered them online. So try if you have something specific, you could ask them, or you could search my YouTube channel. I have about 200 videos. So if you're most people will. This is a fun thing. Most people will write AOA, and now I'm
And
looking at
then
that.
they
Yeah, I'm
just
looking at that message AOA, and I'm thinking that this guy sent me an AOA, and I could have replied him if he had asked me a proper question, but he asked me AOA. So I'm like,
yeah.
मर्जी है. So कोई सवाल है direct है specific है, you ask me, and I'm on yours.
Sounds amazing. I think that's a brilliant session in of itself. Thank you, Shahzad. And I think just for the audience, reach out to him with the genuine queries. He's a very approachable person. So you can reach out to him on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever. I think his channel is also there on YouTube, and his community is also there, Laptop Living, on the Facebook. So reach out to him, and I think he should be able to help you. And once again, Shahzad, it's been a pleasure inviting you, getting to know about your journey. I already am familiar with that, but I think just for the wider audience, I think it's a fascinating journey in and of itself. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much for having me. Or see you in Multan soon, bro.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Thank you so much, man.
Okay. Goodbye.